Good morning. Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Journey Live. It is another Friday. We are here. Summer is just going along. It's been hot in the Pacific Northwest. And Gunnar decided to come in and visit, and then he left the office. So we'll see if he comes back to visit us. But good morning, Martin. I'm the heart. You're the brain.
Good
How's it going?
morning. Yeah, it's going great. I'm wearing my
Good.
sarcasm shirt. It's a good day.
Perfect. Well, let's hear some of the sarcasm today. So
No,
before
you
we
would
get
never.
Yeah. Before we get started, there's a lot going on in the world and locally. So I just want to pause for what's going on in Maui and Lahaina. It's crazy. I've got my Maui hook on today, thinking of them. Payday for me today. I'm going to send some money over there. It's just horrible. And then locally, we were just talking off air that you have a friend that I also have friends that know this person,
Yep.
Jess Fern, that is missing right now, and it's just horrible. And then at the same time, life has to continue and business has to continue with the tragedies going on. We could probably do a whole podcast on that. But I just wanted to take a moment to recognize some of those things that are happening that
Yep.
all affect us.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, we have to keep going, and that doesn't mean we cannot sort of parse our brain and think of ways to help and think of ways to
Yeah,
collaborate, and that's it's part of the journey as well, you know.
for sure. And I used to think that if I wasn't worrying sick about situations in my life or other people, that I wasn't caring.
Yeah.
Well, that's codependence for you. 101.
I didn't want
Um,
to define it, but yeah, maybe.
maybe.
Maybe that's right. Uh
But now I've learned that this is not the case, that I don't have to put myself into a horrible emotional state. I can, like you said, do what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too deep into that one, but like one of the things that human beings confuse with action a lot is worrying. And
Right.
worrying and sort of
Exactly.
reprocessing something is not action.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's true for business, it's true for your personal life. Like if there's something that's bothering you, you need to do something about it other than worrying about it, because that
Right.
does not qualify as action. And
Right.
by extent doesn't change anything.
Right. One of my favorite books is Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now,
Yep.
because it's like if you're in the future, you're in fear. If you're in the past, you're in guilt, shame. And if you stay in the present, everything is okay.
Yep.
Everything's fine.
Good old Eckhart is not wrong.
He isn't. But gosh darn it, I wish I could listen to him on Audible, and there's no way I can. I can't listen to that voice on Audible. But
Oh,
anyway, so this is a little segue that I didn't even tell you I was doing before the show, but I thought it was good to honor things. But good morning, take a deep breath. We are talking about marketing today.
yes, we are.
You have some definite eye-opening thoughts about it. Um, I sent a letter out to some people that I'm sure the podcast with and said, "Hey, like, what do you really need in marketing that people think you have to have, and what
Yeah.
do you not need?" Um, and you're a perfect example of that. So, let's start there and
Okay.
talk about that a little bit, and then I'd like you to step back and tell us about your story a little bit and
Okay.
how you're living proof of your thoughts about marketing and what's needed and what really isn't.
Yeah. Well, where to begin? Um, Look, there's thoughts that I've developed on the matter, and there's thoughts that I've learned by just you sort of learning the theory of marketing. And the bottom line is, I always tell my clients that uh, the conversation about marketing is a lot less complex than most people make it out to be. And there's a lot of reasons for it. No problem with people trying to do what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But if they're trying to sell you something
Yeah.
you don't understand, they're going
Right.
to try to make it more complicated, right? So that's a little parenthesis on marketing companies. We'll talk a little more about them later. But bottom line is that the concept of marketing is a lot simpler than most people realize. It's essentially a way to be known, right? If you can figure out a way to be known,
Okay. Yeah.
especially by the group of people who should
Mhm.
probably know you,
Mhm.
you are doing marketing. You know,
Mhm.
now, there's levels to that, there's steps to that, but I like for people to sort of meet me at that base level when it comes to marketing. And I this is one of those things that I learned by doing it wrong,
Mhm.
right? And one of the first things I had to do when I came to the country was to just figure out how to make some money really quick. I had already decided I wasn't going to pursue a medical career because that takes a long time, and I wouldn't want to even get into that. But
There is so much more behind that story, and I know people are like, "Oh, when did he come to the country? Medical
yeah,
career. What did he do outside the country? Where is he from?" I've noticed his accent, Martin.
so I came to the country from El Salvador 22 and a half years ago,
Okay.
and I was a physician. I
He
had
was
a
a Doogie Howser.
I had a medical specialty, and I was a relatively young physician. And when I came to the States, it was sort of impromptu. I wasn't like a big part of the big plan of come to the States. I had to, and I had to figure it out, how to live from that. And the first logic would be like, well, just become a doctor, right? And for anybody that doesn't know what that takes, it's not easy, and it's certainly not something you can do in any less than 3.5 to 4 years. That would be
Coming
the
from a different
the
country.
quickest thing somebody could potentially make it to that. And I just, didn't have it in me at that time. I had already become aware of how insurance companies work, so I really
Mhm.
didn't have it in me. So I really had to figure something else out, and I just leaned into the things that I felt I was strong with. Even back in El Salvador, I was an advice giver. I was always talking to other people about how to run their practice or how to work their business, and that felt natural. It felt like the
Mhm.
thing to do. So I was
Mhm.
doing that okay, but
Mhm.
the way I was approaching it, I don't think I would do it again that way. I
Mhm.
did a lot of door knocking and a lot of heavy heavy sales because I needed the money right then and there, right? So
Well, let's pause there too, because you coming to the country and you said, "I needed to make money quickly."
mhm,
That's kind of, I don't know if you call that a crisis, but that's a challenge. That is a
100% a crisis.
something has to happen
Yes,
here
it's a
to
100% a
survive,
crisis. Yes, for
which
sure.
entrepreneurs are born in crisis, or they
I feel like we
take in
thrive in
their
crisis.
we yes,
I feel like we
apparently I
thrive
do.
in crisis, right? You
Yes.
certainly do. uh, but that's what prompted it, and it's not like I just went, oh, I'm just going to be a consultant. And I did that. No, I did a bunch of other stuff, right? I painted houses. I did a lot of things. It was about the survival versus the building the thing you actually wanted to build.
Right.
And in the building the thing I wanted to build looked like I just need to get it done quickly, right? I didn't want to stay in the paint houses game for too long. I didn't want to stay in the I did all sorts of things. I assisted a
Delivering
chiropractor.
pizzas probably.
I,
Who knows,
I
you
didn't
know?
do I didn't do the food thing. I
Any
missed
side hustle, right?
I missed that I should have done that just
Yeah.
to say that I had the experience. But I assisted a chiropractor. I did a bunch of stuff, and I it was okay. It was honest work. I just did not want to be that. Right? I
Mhm.
was building something else, and it was like you knock on the door of a physician's office
Mhm.
and you try to get in front of that business owner, right?
Yeah.
That's not an
Yeah.
easy proposition. And
No.
that's basically what I did. I did it however many times as I needed it. And I had people agree to give me trial runs on consulting. Back then, by the way, consulting was perceived as a corporate thing. It wasn't like a
Mm.
one-on-one relationship like it is now.
Mhm.
You could probably say that. Um, so there was my competitors at that time. were the big companies that provided doctors' offices with software for managing the practice. That's who
Okay.
they thought about when they thought consultant.
So,
So
another thing you just said is you said a trial run consulting. So, that tells me you were giving some services for little to no money.
for free,
Hey, yeah. And
yes,
that is a marketing strategy to a certain point.
that is a
We
sales strategy.
Oh, shit, see?
And that's part of what I want
Mm,
to talk about. I mean, I'm
okay.
giving just this huge background because I want to talk about how those two moments are different, and knowing that
Okay,
they're
yes.
different is
Yeah,
important because it
right.
makes you potentially more effective at it. I
Okay, yeah.
I did it because I had to, but it didn't necessarily mean I was doing it right. I could have saved a lot of time by not talking to doctors who were never going to go for that. I
Right.
could have saved a lot of time by not spending a lot of money talking to a lot of doctors, thinking the volume was the
Mm,
goal,
mhm.
instead
Instead
of
of the
like
quality.
refining the pitch of the conversation for the work.
And
'Cause
who was your target market?
it was single practitioner physician, uh,
Right. But
running like knowing that, like,
knowing your target market.
and that wasn't clear from the beginning. I was like, I need to talk to a doctor. Right, and so I wasted a lot of
Yeah.
time talking to partnerships, talking to, multi-physician
Mhm,
groups that they were never going to
mhm,
go for me. There were too
mhm,
many decision makers, there were too many things,
mhm,
involved, and it was just not going to pan out.
mhm,
So, I really wanna make sure that we talk about the lessons of that, um,
mhm,
but one of the lessons of that is it's worth it to define who you want to talk to.
mhm,
It is worth it to have a moment of sit down and say, okay, this is what I want to do, but who
mhm,
am I going to be talking to, or
mhm.
who I want to
Yeah.
meet? Who do I want for them to know what I do?
I think it's not only a good idea, I think it's essential.
It is, and a lot of people skip it, right?
Well,
And
it's
depend.
hard to, like, drill down. I was just in a
Yeah.
networking group and they said, if you're what's unique about you and you're part of your sales pitch is something that every other realtor could be saying about themselves,
Mhm.
that's not it.
It's not unique by
It's
definition,
not
right?
it's not unique, and it needs to get more specific. You need to drill down, like, how are you different? And then what target market are you looking for? Like Macy Chance. She's a
100%.
realtor.
I was about to bring her up
Yeah,
because
I love it.
I'm
She's a
fascinated by that.
Yeah, she's a realtor. There's a gazillion realtors out there in a market that is not great. Why she became involved in that is because she went through a divorce, had to pick up everything, buy a house, and she started learning how to redo things, make them look better, sell and get to the next house, that kind of thing. And she's like, "I want to work with women who are going through divorce
That's called
and
hyper
finding them."
knitting.
Yeah.
That's called
And
hyper knitting, and it
it's
makes
brilliant.
total sense.
It's brilliant.
It makes 100% sense, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you're starting a business, that may feel scary because there's an element of, well, I have to choose, right? I have
Well,
to
that's gonna
narrow
limit
myself,
me.
and that's part
Yeah.
of it, right? It's not so much that it's going to limit you; it's going to focus you.
Right. And when we started our business, we would everyone said, "Could you do this? Could you do this? Hey, we want you to come inside our office. We just got rid of the catering, company and Bon Appetit, and we want you to sell coffee and a few things. And will you try and do that? That's not our business. We don't sell by the cup." But what did we say? Yeah, we'll try that. Like, we were open for everything. And 2 months later, we're like, okay, we tried it. We're done.
Yep. But
So,
you have to have the strength
per
to say that, right? At some
yeah.
point, you have to be able to say, "Well, that didn't work. I'm going to stop." That's maybe a lesson for the series, which is, you should feel comfortable changing direction.
Mhm.
just it's the other thing, right? You want to
Mhm.
make sure that you are able to, because at the size of most startup companies, you're super nimble. You can. You can do
Mhm.
something today and not do it tomorrow.
Mhm.
Uh, just make sure that, whatever decisions you're basing that on, have a little bit of data on,
Mhm.
right? A little bit of actual information instead of
Mhm.
like how things feel.
Mhm. Yeah. And this is all good information. However, there is benefit in those mistakes
There's a lot of benefit in that.
because you're like, okay, nope, not doing that anymore. Check the box, been there, done that. And it helps you get more refined, more refined, more refined. I mean, we still get asked, will you go to this festival and, sell coffee and whatever? And the answer is no. And they think we're crazy. But it's like, we're good at this and we need to stay in that lane. And for us to go do something totally different and try and do it really well
Yeah,
is it's not feasible and
yeah,
not attractive.
for sure. So,
Yeah. So back to your story.
well, I I ended up with enough clients to fill my plate, right? By doing a trial run with them. The biggest
Mhm.
lesson on that was that I could have done it faster
Mhm.
if I had just take a step back
Mhm.
and worked on being known first.
Mhm.
And that's essentially what marketing is.
So building your credibility, is that what you mean?
It's not necessarily a credibility. It's like I literally mean being known.
Okay,
You
so
see,
what does that mean to you? What are
yeah,
the activities around that? What are the things in that era
the
that
overly
you would have done?
simplified, the overly simplified definition I give people of marketing is as follows: is turning a stranger into a prospect. Turning a
Okay.
stranger who knows shit about you into somebody who knows what you do. All activities that you do purposefully that lead to that transfixion of somebody, those are marketing activities.
And we're not talking about the MLM way.
Definitely
We're
not
not
talking about
talking
them.
about everyone and their
Oh,
dog,
don't get me started on those guys. Uh,
but
but, but we're definitely not talking about that. We're talking about being known. We're talking about, okay, you're going to meet somebody. You want to make sure that part of them meeting that person is for at some point you finding out exactly what they do and them finding out exactly what you do. At that
and there's
point,
yeah.
you have turned that person from a stranger
Mhm.
into a prospect. Now, there's a
Mhm.
couple other steps before you turn them into a qualified prospect,
Mhm.
which is somebody you can have a sales conversation with.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's the step a lot of people miss. I don't know
They go
about you, but
straight for the sales
I don't know about
jugular.
you, but like at networking events, that is the most annoying thing, right?
Here's my business card.
The one who wants to sell you something at the networking event before knowing whether you even need that thing. Like
Right.
that is somebody skipping the steps of marketing and jumping
Yeah.
straight into the sales conversation.
And possibly operating from a scarcity mindset.
100%. I know I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
we all have been there. Um, you know, but really being self-aware if you're in that spot
yeah,
and then doing the work you need to and surrounding yourself with people that are grounded, know you, like you, trust you, that can really get you in a place of everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And that's that's part of the it's part of the journey, right? Sometimes you will make the mistake and that's okay. For me, though, it's important for people to know that limit on the definition, especially as things begin to work.
Mhm.
Because when
Mhm.
things begin to work, it's not really hard. If you're going to sell, I don't know, if you're going to sell flowers, it's not really hard for that F&F group. I always the friends and family group. It's
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
really hard for them to know that you're now in the flower selling business and you
Right.
have
Yeah.
done a a little bit of the marketing, and they
Right.
do a little bit for you, and it's all great. And like that's not hard. That is an
No.
easy thing. And then you
Yeah.
start getting the cousin and the friend, and you get
Mhm.
the orders, but then you start
Mhm.
getting the calls from the marketing company. You want to grow your business? And they literally say things like this, right? Do you want to increase your sales?
No.
And I'm like, well, I thought you were a marketing company.
I
And
see where you're
that
going.
and that's the thing, like there is a fundamental difference between marketing activities and sales activities, and there should be, and I'll tell you exactly why.
Yes. Okay.
But there's like the first is the definition, right? The definition is being known is marketing. Yes, there's a lot of different ways of doing that, right? There's your brand being known, which is branding.
Mhm.
There's marketing, which is informational, right? People know that you are in this line of business. They know that you are at this level pricing. They know that you offer this following services. There's that. And then there's the sort of the action focused marketing, which is the examples, right? When they learn how you do it, or they learn about other examples of how you did something.
Mhm. Mhm.
We'll get to
Yeah.
that too. Like that's sort of like
Yeah.
content marketing that people are doing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
but so that is all marketing. And if you're doing it yourself, if you're like in that sort of beginning phase, it's
Mhm.
pretty cheap, right? You can
Mhm.
get away with a lot for cheap or for nothing.
Mhm.
But the second you start engaging in marketing activities that cost money,
Mhm.
then you really got to be careful with the math. You got to be careful with the math. And I'll give you some examples, right?
Yep.
The sales side is conversations that you're having that are specific and transactional about exchanging services or time or goods for money. So if you and I are having a conversation about how much something's gonna cost you, what benefits are specific to you on this, that is a sales conversation. And if I'm having that sales conversation with somebody that is not a qualified prospect, it's unlikely I'll be successful. That's what was
Mhm.
happening to me with the dogs, right?
Mhm.
They liked me to a degree,
Mhm.
right? But I wasn't gonna ever match up with what they thought they needed, right? So they were unqualified prospects for me. That is
'Cause you
the
can't
same as
talk yeah.
that
You
is the
can't talk
same.
about those pain points for them if
Yeah,
you don't have them
exactly.
qualified.
Exactly. And that happens the same if your product's up here and what their needs are down here. Like they're unqualified for you. They can't afford you. They're unqualified, right? So that little moment that happens between somebody being a prospect, meaning they know you exist, they know your business, they understand it to a certain degree, and then qualifying themselves, right? That void in between,
Mhm.
that is filled with information, right? It's filled through the marketing efforts, but it's usually done by the customer themselves. It's usually they are the ones who decide that they're qualified. And that is
Mm.
the moment that a lot of people miss, right? Somebody's reaching
Mhm.
out saying, "Hey, I want to know more about your service of X." Like that's a prospect qualifying themselves.
So that's where the ding, 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 ding needs
Yeah.
to go off.
And that's when you need to switch up to sales conversations.
And you need to respond to them,
You definitely need to
likely
respond to people.
within 4 hours or
You
less.
need to respond to people. I mean,
I mean,
let's
how
go back
many
to go
times
back to the basics. Yeah,
well, that's I love to talk about the basics.
yeah,
And here's a little side note here, and I love what you're all the stuff you're saying, is that, you probably don't need a website if you're in construction, like handyman services, painter, tile installer. As long as you do what you say you're gonna do, you communicate, you're kind, you will have more business than you know what to do with without ever putting a sign in anybody's yard, going door to door, doing an ad, or having a website. Period.
yes. There's there's a book that I tell people about often. Is Kevin Kelly, I think, is the author, and the book is called A Thousand True Fans. Sorry, A Thousand True Fans. And the premise of the book is simple, right? All you need to have a successful business is 1,000 true fans.
Not a
Oh,
hundred.
not 100, definitely not 100. You'll do okay, but it's not. But 1,000 true fans is all you need, right? And by true fans, I mean fans, right? People who talk about you and promote you and will never even consider using somebody else, etc. Right? But that's how simple that is.
Mhm.
But to your point, back to the basics, right? Yeah, I mean, by the time somebody self qualifies, if you miss that, that's on you, right? That's by that point, it's a sale
Mhm.
to lose. It's not a
Mhm.
sale to actually go get. The sales process is a
Mhm.
lot easier than most people think. I actually consider
Yay,
that
I love it when you say that.
I actually consider that the marketing activities are harder just because there's so many variables. Some of them cost a lot of money. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Take
But
time.
the sales stuff, that's
Mhm.
easy. Once you have
Mhm.
somebody in front of you,
Mhm.
that is really like it's for you to lose. If somebody's in front of you and they're asking any level question and you are not A responding, B, asking very diving questions, right? You are the one who needs to be
Engaging.
asking
Mhm.
questions. You need to be consulting, essentially,
Mhm.
asking questions, finding out
Mhm.
what their pain points are, finding out where they and that pain points is kind of a prostituted word nowadays, but you want to find out what is it that they
Mhm.
struggle with,
What
right?
are their challenges?
That you could
Mhm.
help, what their challenges are that you could help.
Now
Uh,
you said I'm gonna stop you right there because you said something really good, and it's something I've been marketing for years,
okay.
and I really enjoy it. Um, but I have to stop myself and
Yeah.
ask more questions and listen more than just talking about what I think they need to hear.
Yet another reason for you to know when a process ends and a new process begins, right? So when you need to know when marketing is over. Marketing is
Good
over.
point.
Marketing is over when they have all the information that you want them to have. That's when it's over. Anything after that, it's probably a sales conversation,
Which includes listening and asking questions.
which should be mainly listening and asking questions, right? So as long as
Damn,
people
you're good.
as long as people know those two things, right? There's a separation there. Then I can talk to them about what happens, and I'll give you this example. We'll do it with very very easy math.
Thank you
But
for
let's
that.
say let's say that every sale you make is $500.
Mhm.
Easy math.
Mhm.
And let's say that $1,000 is your cost for
Mhm.
10 new leads. You
Mhm.
went ahead and engaged with a marketing company and they're giving you leads.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully they're qualified, right? But they're
Mhm.
giving you leads. And those 10 cost you $1,000.
Mhm.
Okay. If you are closing, meaning you effectively sell 20%,
Mhm.
two out of those 10 people, right?
Mhm.
If you do that effectively,
Mhm.
all you're doing is breaking even
Mhm.
on the marketing only, right?
Mhm.
A little less all your other expenses. So if
Right.
you're only closing two out of 10,
Mhm.
right, you're breaking even on the marketing expense.
Mhm. Yeah.
The marketing company is going to tell you, let's double down. Yeah, we're getting some good leads and you're closing and you're getting business. Let's double down. Let's do $2,000.
Mhm.
Let's do $2,000. That means you're going to close four, and that's going to give you $2,000,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? So you could
Yeah.
keep throwing money at the marketing side and expanding the size of that funnel, which is more likely. going to make you less effective.
Mhm.
So now instead of closing two, you're gonna closing one and a half, right? Or one. And now you're losing money.
So,
Ins-
what about the repeat business factor? Because we have a really high, we're like at 79% repeat business.
Show off.
S-
Yeah. So that's a big part of it, right? Like it's a big part of the calculation you need to make. Is this
Yeah,
marketing here worth it? Because once we get somebody, in average, they
right,
mean that sale times three, times five, times 10, right? Like
right.
that goes into that calculation. I'm trying to keep it like very simple
Simple.
for me to
Mhm,
show
mhm,
the math of it not working by just
mhm,
throwing more money on the top.
mhm,
What that
mhm,
At that point, the only thing that matters is to improve the sales process. Because the second you improve the sales process, that one percentage point increase there begins
mhm,
to add up on the black side, right? This is the positive
mhm,
side of the equation. So if now you're closing three out
mhm,
of 10, now you're making $500 out of every $1,000 invested, right? You're like completely in the black $500. But if you're closing five, six, now you're really making it, right? So
mhm,
what people need to understand is that before they spend any serious money on marketing,
mhm,
you should spend some, right?
mhm.
But before you spend any serious money on marketing, and by any definition, that would probably be before you engage with any marketing company, you want to make sure that your sales process is solid and
Mhm,
that you know who you need to talk to. You need to know what the profile is of that qualified customer, right? Qualified
mhm,
prospect. You need
mhm.
to know what that is, what makes somebody qualified to deal with you. And
Yeah,
if you have that
yeah,
kind of clarity and you have that kind of effectiveness, you're going to be okay and you can
yeah.
afford to do the marketing bit,
So
right?
what's a good close rate to know if your sales department is
It's
doing
a
an
great
okay
question.
job? It can probably, I'm sure, change per industry, but
Yeah. Yeah, so there's some numbers out there that you got to take with a grain of salt, right? But the average, the standard, what you see a lot is between 20 and 25% as average.
so
Now, if
these are the ones that clients are coming to you through the website calling saying,
and you
"Hey,
get one out of every four,
okay,
right? There's
okay.
That is not unusual for you to see a company that one out of every four interactions they have in the sales side result in a sale.
Does it
Okay.
determine the, dollar amount you're selling? So, like, if we're at a $400, $500 price range versus a, $15,000 price range, does it matter much?
Only if you're counting qualified prospects versus everybody,
Gotcha.
right? Because if some marketing firm says,
Mhm.
"Hey, I'll send 50,000 emails on your behalf,"
Mhm. Mhm.
okay, who are you going to send those emails to? Well, don't worry about that.
Mhm.
I will just
Mhm.
send some 50,000 emails, and then
Right.
how many of those are you going to close, right? That percentage is going to be really crazy
Yeah.
low.
Yeah.
Um, because email alone has its own standards of effectiveness,
Mhm.
which we can talk about. But basically, if you're trying to get good close rate, for me, when I train
Mhm.
teams and sales groups, it's as close as you can get to 50 or 60, right? If you're
Mhm.
at 50, 60%, meaning your attrition, right? The people who choose to not work with you
Mhm.
are less than half, then you have a really good process and you are probably talking to really good people.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
that is consistently happening, you are there, right? You're at a
Okay.
good closing rate,
Okay.
regardless of your price point, because your
Right.
price point is going to matter more around
Time.
the
Oh, okay.
qualification part, right? Like if
Yeah.
somebody can afford
Yeah.
you and believes the value of what you're selling, and you are counting them as a qualified prospect. Because here's the thing, I have a lot of conversations with unqualified prospects.
Mhm.
People,
Still?
yeah, people refer me people all the time, right?
Absolutely.
And
Well, you
and
just never know who knows someone who knows the other, and I talk to people too, and I love not looking at what it is in it for me, but also I love connecting them and being like, "You should talk to so and so." And
yeah,
I love seeing
that
those
connection happening,
connections.
absolutely. Now, and
Mhm.
for me, that's part of it too. Like I was just having this conversation with someone the other day, and told them I will probably never stop doing that.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
probably will never
Yeah.
stop doing what I call the kitchen sink meeting.
So, what is the difference between your kitchen sink meeting and going to those doctors way back when?
I'm not selling them. In the
Oh,
kitchen
yeah, of
sink
course.
meeting, I'm not selling them. It's not a sales conversation. It's
I
strictly
get
a
to know
marketing,
you.
strictly a marketing conversation. And I call it the kitchen sink meeting because if I if I'm going to work with you, I have no reason to gatekeep any answers with you. And if I'm not gonna work with you, I have no reason to gatekeep any answers from you.
Mhm.
So I just
Mhm.
I if I
Just
give
are
them
who you
all the
are.
answers. I just tell them all the things, right? I suggest you do this, or I suggest you don't do that, and it's just the whole thing, right?
Mhm.
So whatever they
Mhm.
bring to the table, we discuss.
Mhm. So, a
And
little trial. Kind
yeah, I guess you could say that, but I'm
Mhm.
not trying to get them as customers, right? There's some people
Mhm.
that I know are not going to be a good customer for me. I know they're
Right.
not going to work, but I also want them
Right.
to, having invested that hour, I
Yeah.
want them to get value out of that.
And it's your way of giving back. Like, you have a heart of mentoring small business,
Yeah,
and it's your way of giving back,
I will
and
never stop doing that, right? That's what I
yeah.
was talking to my friend about. I will never stop doing that. And
Yeah.
the other part of it is it helps me have 1,000 true fans.
Have you put a list together ever? Kinda
Yes,
curious.
I have a list,
Am I on
but
your list?
you're pretty high at the top of my list. But yes, that helps me do that, right? There's people out there that I've never worked with that are
Mhm.
some of my biggest advocates.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
talk about what I do all the time because we had that one conversation where I gave them a little advice and they
Mhm.
used it and it worked, and
Mhm.
like, so
Mhm.
that works for me.
Megan Kelly says, "You've got a fan with her."
Ah, thanks, Megan. So glad
I'm
you're
a
here.
fan I'm a
I'm
fan
a
of
fan of
Megan's.
Megan's. Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
She's on my list. Megan, am I on your list?
I'm on your list.
Hey, by the way, words of affirmation is my love language. So,
Oh,
telling me,
I should have known
I'm
that
on
a
the
while ago.
list
Should
is,
have done that a
all you
while
need to
ago.
do. Okay, this is such great information. And I know we're co hosts and we do things, together.
Yeah,
But gosh, I just feel like I get a free consulting hour
it's
just
not free.
engaging your brain.
It's not free.
Yay, Megan.
Um,
um,
yeah, no. So for me, I want to make sure that people understand that getting good at the two different sides of the equation
mhm,
is important.
mhm,
You want to get good at giving people information about you,
mhm,
who you are, what you do,
mhm,
what is the benefit of working with you. Like that, you have to get good at that.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, for sure. Candace. Oh, Candace.
You're definitely
I'm
on
on your
mine.
list. After that book, girl, mm, what is it? Bad press?
Bad press.
Bad press. Great summer read. I've said it again before and I'll say it again. It's hot. It's smoking hot. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Woo! Um
So you got to get good at talking about that, right? That the informational piece. And that's one of those places where people get really weird, right? Because I feel like for most people, the two sides of that equation are flipped sometimes.
mhm,
They're in a marketing environment and they're
mhm,
great at asking questions and getting to know
mhm.
people, and they
Yeah.
confuse marketing with networking.
Mhm. Oh
right?
gosh, yeah, you're gonna set me straight here too as well.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm great at that, and let me find out more about you." And they think that that is
Yeah,
marketing.
yeah. Building a connection is
It's
networking.
networking. It's
Oh, I
networking.
got it right. That was
Yeah, and
close.
and
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
part of marketing,
yeah.
but it's not
Right,
bigger than marketing, right? The
right.
marketing is
Yeah,
it's a little more. It's a transfer of information.
yeah,
So some
yeah,
people are great at asking questions in a marketing setting, and
yeah.
then on the sales setting, they get preachy. They get professorial. They get
Right,
like, I'm gonna
right,
tell you why you should work with me instead of
right.
that's when you should be really asking the questions.
Well, and at that place, you at that stage, you should be connected to them in a certain level because you've developed a little bit of a relationship. Thank you, Jen.
Look at
Jen's a great
Jan. We're
example
big fans of
of,
you.
yeah, we were connected. Jen's like, let's go have coffee. I said, you need to meet with Martin. Now they're working on a project together. Jen and I refer
The
stuff.
rest is
It's great.
history.
The rest is history. But you should have some kind of connection. And I love connection. And
Yeah.
someday you can interview me about connection because I think that's just what I love. I have to have it in my life. I think I naturally do it pretty well. And so at that point, it's kind of like you're looking for their best interest,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, look,
Right.
I mean, you're one of those few very lucky people who are sort of naturally good at both. And you fly seamlessly between the two things and you don't make it weird. You just sort of, when it's natural, you roll into the sales thing and go in for the kill. But not everybody has that kind of
Yeah.
innate
Yeah.
relationship with it, right? Like,
So bring up Candace's comment because you said I don't make it weird.
and she said, make it.
And she says, don't make it weird, Nat. About the book. Sometimes I can be awkward. I think sometimes I'm on the spectrum and I just
I
say
think you
what's
make
on
it,
my mind.
I think you make it work.
I
But
think I
that's the
make it fun, right? Because we got to laugh.
but that's the point, like I feel like you have a certain ease with people and with a certain ease with discomfort too, which is kind of important.
Hmm. Hmm.
And not everybody's like that. I don't have an ease with
Yeah.
discomfort. I have the
Yeah. No,
opposite of
you
that.
don't.
I have a lot
Yeah.
of discomfort with discomfort, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so for me, I know that that sort of gregarious, easygoing thing is going to
Yeah.
feel weird and unnatural. Like if I
Hmm.
try to go for that, that's not gonna be my thing.
Hmm.
So
That's why your thousand fans are so important because we're singing your praises before you even say, hi, I'm Martin.
so that I love the pre-sale thing, right? Because of that, that's why I work with people who get referred to me because it's easier. I don't have to do the whole please trust me thing. And if
Hmm.
I'm forced to be in an environment like that, again, know yourself, right? If you
Hmm.
know yourself, you're gonna do better. Uh, I know that I'm not gonna be the sort of life of the party guy,
Hmm.
but I am a really good connector. I'm a really good
Hmm.
question asker. And that's where
Hmm.
my comfort is, right? So I
Hmm.
stick with that. I
Hmm.
ask people questions. I never bring up what I do. I
Hmm.
never do until somebody asks.
And you're like, shit, now I got to tell them what
And
I
now
do.
I have to tell them that, right? But
And
but by then, they may very well be a qualifying prospect for me. By the time
right,
somebody goes, "Oh, yeah, tell me more," right? I
right,
have a business that I do this, right? By then, they have sort of self-qualified.
right, right. Okay,
But
so we have about 6 minutes until we need to
we're
wrap it
gonna do a
up.
part 2.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to the very beginning of your story. And so Martin is someone that I think I saw a business card of yours once.
Yeah,
I've seen a card once.
yeah.
You go to
S
networking events
Stop doing
and
that.
you don't have cards. And this is pre-COVID, I know we're going digital and all that great stuff.
Yeah, I was social distancing before it was cool.
COVID was like in your lane. You were
I
just
was like,
like, this is
"This
perfect.
is working." Yeah.
Didn't you say you haven't gone to Costco in like
Well,
years?
I no, I was the tribute. I was the Costco goer when COVID was at its height.
Okay, but then you haven't
But
gone
I
since?
haven't really gone since, and we just had the first time of me going back, and it was weird. I didn't want it.
Oh, Costco is just like a great day. Anyway, so
You should go with
moving
candy.
on. Making it weird again, making it weird. Um, so you don't have a website.
No, but I don't recommend that.
Okay.
I actually will eventually move to a place where I do, but I don't recommend that. That is not. I just want to make sure that people don't take that as advice. Um, you should, right? You should have a
Yeah.
website. My thing with the websites is have a website, but have a way to bring people to it. Otherwise, it's like building a tiny home in the middle of the desert, right?
Okay,
Like
so
you're,
let's talk about that because
yeah.
that can be big
If
expense. Megan, feel free to chat away in the chat box regarding websites, but tell me exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, so a website, right? If you create a website out there is going to be just one of close to a trillion destinations on the internet, right? And
Right.
if there's nothing feeding it, right? Nothing bringing people there,
Hmm.
uh why did you do it,
Right.
right?
So we talking content, we're
There's
talking let newsletters linking it, we're talking,
yeah,
then the
so,
money.
so there's a lot of things that are not dead, right? Email
Hmm.
marketing is not dead. I think that email
Hmm.
marketing is still very, very relevant. We
Hmm.
all still have it. Hence, we all could be contacted by it. You have to be
Hmm.
really good at it in order to get
Hmm.
results. But yeah, you should email people. You should
Hmm.
remind them you exist.
Hmm.
Um, I always say this, in a lot of these things,
Hmm.
consistency may very well be more important than quality.
Hmm.
You want to make sure that people continue to hear you're there, continue
Hmm.
to hear about you. Um,
Yeah. And so that's why you need to have people helping you with that because I'm thinking of myself in the last 6 months and there's times when I'm like, okay, I got it, and on LinkedIn, I'm just connected and, commenting on people's and looking at their posts and putting content up there. And then there's like, 3 weeks go by and it's been a shitstorm and I'm just like, I don't have it. So
yeah,
that's where it's helpful to have people
yeah.
continually
You're at a different
helping.
level. I mean, if I don't hear from your company or yourself for 3 weeks, I don't necessarily think your company's gone dead.
Yeah.
Right? I think that
Yeah.
maybe something busy is going on, but I don't think
Yeah.
your company's gone dead. But that's the problem, right? I used to tell people this story a long time ago, of like you got to imagine that you're like in back in the cave time
Mhm.
when we were caveman, and you wake up in the morning, get out your cave, and you see your neighbor and say, "Hey, neighbor, how are you? Good morning." And then the next day, "Hey, good morning." And the next day, "Good morning." Until you don't, right? The day you don't come out and he doesn't see you, what does he think?
You're dead.
He thinks you got eaten, right? He thinks you're dead. And that's a very similar thing that happens with marketing.
Mhm.
Megan is saying great stuff about website.
Mhm.
It's never done 100%, right? 100%. It's never done. And
Either
you
is
want
your
to make sure that
SOPs,
you
either
want to
is
make
your
sure that
business.
yeah, exactly. They're all iterative processes, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of the point, right? You want to
Mhm.
make sure that continues. So
Mhm.
whatever it is that you're doing, right? If let's say that posting social media is your thing, or creating small
Mhm.
pieces of content is your thing,
Mhm.
it's better that before you spend $10,000 doing high quality videos or things
Mhm.
like that, that you figure out how the hell you're going to manage to post daily.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
you post daily, right? If you respond to comments daily, if you like, you're doing more there than one big
Mhm.
push of a $20,000 campaign that then
Mhm.
nothing follows, right? People are
Yeah.
going to think,
Yeah.
oh, there's that company there, there's that
Mhm.
individual, there's that business, and then they won't see anything. So their thought is, you got eaten. You don't want people thinking you got eaten.
Yeah. Because, people sometimes love to know if you got eaten or not. And then
That's
there's
right.
other that are worried sick about you. But,
That's right. That's
another
for another
show,
day.
another day.
Yeah, so I feel like we might have rushed towards the end with the content piece, right? I just want to make sure that I say a little something about it. Is you know it is a valid way of marketing. It is a very
Hmm.
current way of marketing.
Hmm.
I told you in our sort of pre-discussion about this. I told you
Hmm.
email's not dead, but there's a lot of good ways and bad ways of doing it.
Hmm.
Newsletters are not dead, but there's a lot of
Hmm.
new, really good ways of doing it, and some not
Hmm.
so good, right?
Hmm.
It's not that same old school. Hey, I'll send you a thing monthly that says what we're up to. Now, I'd rather you build a little bit of an aggregator of topics and things that are important for you commonly, and
Hmm.
constantly be giving people something of value that may or may not have tons to do with you directly, but that's not dead. But
Right.
then, you know regular, rich, high value content creation is sort of the way of the future,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Now now
Now.
and you it's way worth it to start looking at, okay, well, how is it that I'm communicating, right? Sometimes, like, you don't have to do video, right? You can do small articles, more small blog posts. You can do really good, really sort of centered social media posts that are
Hmm.
consistent, and people can expect it from you. Like, I wonder what
Hmm.
she's going to say today, sort of logic, right?
Hmm.
And you can always do that. There's some platforms that are really great for that. Again, right, if it makes
Hmm.
sense for your market, LinkedIn is a great platform, because when you comment on somebody else's,
Yeah.
people see that, and their entire network see your stuff, and then your
Hmm.
network sees that comment originally too.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of places where that makes sense, some others not so much. But
Hmm.
being there, right, has more value than maybe the thing you're putting in there. And
Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
thing about that is, don't assume that because you shared something in this one channel, you
Hmm.
shouldn't share it across all your channels. Because even though, yeah, there may be some repeats on that, not
Hmm.
even those people are going to see it in both places, right?
Right. Right.
That content is served in a very specific way, and sometimes
Yeah.
I don't see an update from you for weeks, because LinkedIn just doesn't serve it to me.
Well, and let's be honest. Are we going to remember that exact post?
Nope.
Did I see that post before?
What you
Must be in
will
my brain.
remember is that Natalie posts
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
You will remember that.
Yeah,
So
for sure. For sure.
that's that's a whole other show we could do on social media posting and content
Mhm.
creation, and the value of that.
Mhm.
I think that there's so much about that that freaks people
Mhm.
out, and so much
Mhm.
about it that is relatively easy and cheap to do, and
Yeah, it just
incredibly valuable.
changes so fast and the
Yeah.
algorithms and you just feel like you're chasing this
Well, only if you're
algorithm
measuring
and
the wrong thing.
screw it.
Only
Just
if you're
gonna
measuring the wrong thing, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
if you're measuring likes and things like that, that may not be the best measure of your effectiveness.
yeah,
And
and I'm
yeah, I
just
mean,
gonna throw it out here because 'cause I'm the heart, but be vulnerable in all this stuff. Like Megan Kelly's LinkedIn posts, oh my god,
love
they're
them.
brilliant.
Love them.
Love them. And I'm all about being vulnerable. Like the ego it's gone, it's out, it's not in anymore. No one wants to know how great your life is. I mean, they want to celebrate you, but they can see
Yeah.
right through it. Be vulnerable in everything you're talking about.
Well, look, if you want the brain take on that, is there's a reason people love the behind the scenes shows.
Totally.
You love knowing what happened behind the movie that you love, right? How that happened, how that came together, and the stories behind it, and the bloopers and all that.
The
People love that.
bloopers.
People love that
Yeah,
because it's real, it's
real.
authentic, right? And
Mhm.
you get to have a little, like, look into
Mhm.
the fabric of something that you already like or have an affinity to. So when you see things like what Megan posts, which, by the
Mhm.
way, if you I'll make sure that I post it in the comments or something for
Mhm.
people to go see her LinkedIn. Her posts are like this beautiful narratives of what it's like to be an entrepreneur and getting there. And
Yeah.
there's just
Yeah.
so much value in that, and
Right.
everybody remembers them.
Right. Yep, totally. Okay, you are talking a lot.
I did a
We
lot of
gotta we
talking
gotta
today.
wrap this show up.
That we do.
But you know what? The marketing for this show is, well, the same, whatever. Is that come get your 1-hour consultation on business the first and third Friday of every month
Yeah.
because this is great. And we need to hear things a second time. So some of it we might know, but it's good to hear and it's good to collaborate. And I always, have a takeaway from these and it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
And
go write my list of 1,000 fans.
we had some fantastic people in here too. By the
Absolutely.
way, I mean, Megan, definitely check
Awesome.
Megan out. Check
Yeah.
Jen.
Jen. Yep.
Check
Yep.
Candace's book.
Read bad press. Okay, so, it's Friday. It's
That
gonna
it
be
is.
80 degrees in the Pacific Northwest, so enjoy your day, no more bitching about the weather. Um, so
But I like that.
you like to bitch about the weather?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Only if it's
okay.
hot.
I know, people
If it's
like you.
cold, I love it.
I'm gonna talk to you in March when it's raining like frickin' cats and dogs. I
Don't
know
bother
you
me.
like that. Oh,
I like
god.
that.
Well, you live in the right place. Okay. So we are the first and third Friday of every month
That's
at
right.
9 a.m. However, we are skipping September 1st. It goes into the Labor Day weekend holiday. And we know damn well you have better plans than seeing our faces that morning. So you're not going to. And hopefully
Right.
we have some good plans as well. And then September 15th, we're going to be talking heart. Shannon Hernandez, she has a book called Practical Joy,
Mm.
and she is going to be talking about bringing joy into your business. And she's fantastic. She's actually coming locally, or her partner is a business partner, and we're going to be doing possible workshop on the side. So if people
Yep.
are interested in that, let me know. It's going to be $75, includes the book, and you get some training through that. So that's going to be fantastic. That's going to be October 1st. So if you're interested, let me know. Um, so anyway, that's what's going on. 9:57. It's Friday. You shine today, Martin.
Well, you asked the right questions today.
That's what I love too. I find people's lives I find so interesting. And so I love asking questions and finding out about people. And I love dragging it out of you to talk about your
That's why you're a
Doogie
good
Howser
marketer.
days.
That's why you're a good marketer.
All right. All right.
Well,
Well, you'll have to interview me about that someday because sometimes I don't know, it's just what I do, right?
yep.
So it's hard to really talk about our talents sometimes because it's just what we do. Anyway, well, have a great weekend and enjoy the 80-degree weather. And yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone.
It was a
Love
great
seeing
show.
you guys. It
Happy
was a great.
Friday, guys.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.